Well, first, I just again, um, in understanding governance, uh, we all have policy um, responsibilities, and so when you present a budget amendment presentation, staff and management spent countless hours to bring forth this budget amendment presentation for consideration. And as we relate to um, that understanding, this is a policy decision for the City Board of Directors. Before I go to my final comments, I do believe others may want to continue to move forward as we move to a recess. I do want to address a few different things because I was being very patient as possible. I do want to make certain to get the point of order of some different things and different questions that have come about. Many times there are questions about what happens to the potential layoffs and those employees' vacations. I want to make certain that employees who terminate are paid their accrued balance on vacation or paid time off. There may be questions about sick days. Non-union employees receive 2% per year of service after they've been here for 5 years. ASME are not paid for theirs unless they die while being employed. What happens to medical insurance? We all understand that employees terminating for any reason are offered COBRA, where they have the option to pay for medical insurance. It may make financial sense to go find an individual policy at a lower rate. What happens to retirement? Depending on the value of benefit, it will be deferred until age 65 or be cashed out to them. So those are just a number of different questions that come up. I know we've already addressed the bumping scenario. That's been addressed today. So I wanted to make sure that information was out there. Kind of getting back to what may be my final comments. It's very easy to scrutinize a process. Sarah, Bruce, and I spent countless hours, days, weekend working on this process to give the board the best option to consider as we move forward. We did not get here overnight. And I stress we because I'm now the chairman of this board of directors. When I was sworn in on January 1st, walked in the door with a $7.3 million budget deficit that this city board voted for on December 18, 2018. And so it's easy to have a lot of questions, and we agree we want to have questions and ideas. But I just want to stress out of respect to Sarah and Bruce the countless hours that they spent working on this and giving option A and option B. Dean, you're correct. I'm a former banker, and being a former banker, walking in and seeing the budget deficit that we had and understand that we've had year over year a lack of revenue growth year over year, but continue to have salary growth and expenditure growth year over year, that delta just doesn't work. That doesn't work in finance. That doesn't work in a business that I financed. Being someone that's been involved in the budgeting process as a state highway commissioner, as a senior advisor to a governor who basically dealt over close to 10, if you add all the billions of dollars that I've been able to be a part of the budgeting process, is a little bit over $8 to $9 billion. This ain't my first budget. And looking at budgets, you understand that sooner or later, you have to make some hard decisions. And you're right, Dean, and you're right, Gene, and others. There are some great outside agencies. Kelly Bass, I called Kelly Bass yesterday. He's a friend. He does great work for our city with the Museum Discoveries. It was hard to call him and say there may be some potential significant impacts because it's part of quality of life. I made the same phone call to Jay Cheshire, to Gabe Holstrom, all of which let them know that you may have some potential cuts. And I stress the may and potential cuts because it's for the board to make that decision. But at the end of the day, we all have to get this financial house in order. We can't spend money we don't have. So we can make decisions, and I agree. There's definitely some challenges with the how we utilize the $500,000 from the street fund. I totally agree. Okay, let's not use it. So if we don't use it, just looking at clear math, we're talking about $500,000. And when you're looking at clear math, you have to look at outside agencies that make up $500,000. No matter how we cut it, somebody's going to get cut. A program's going to be hurt. What we have to do is make certain that our priorities are in order. Our priorities are public safety. Our priorities are quality of life. And so again, if there are some golf courses that, quite frankly, all of the golf courses are not financially well at all. They're running at a deficit. We need to close golf courses that are running at a deficit. And so that's part of it. Yes, we're making cuts to parks. We're not closing any parks. We are now right-sizing the park process to make certain that we may have to outsource maintenance to make certain that happens. And again, we stress 48 positions, which are all very hard. I mean, we just had an employee week. And when you go through employee week and you know the actual person that could potentially be cut, I'm praying for these people. I'm praying for all of us. But these are the hard decisions that we have to make. And so if we have to cut our people, we have to cut our special programs to maintain the continuity and the integrity of our city. And again, we will always make certain that public safety, quality of life, and infrastructure is in place. Option A makes certain that happens. And even with option B, that happens as well. Now, with option B, it's pretty drastic. It moves from 48 employees to close to 100 to 150. Either way, whether it's option A or B, we're talking about the difference, a delta of 1%, and 1% hits pretty hard. So if we have an option C, which we definitely will consider, it's still going to hurt. And there's still going to be organizations that we all know and love. And what do we have to do? And I think Lance said it straight. You're right. Either we're going to create savings and cuts or find ways to increase revenue. I don't think we're ready at this point in time to ask our voters to increase any revenue. I think we first got to get our financial house in order before we even consider making that type of ask. And Lance, I think you are right. We may have to look at our permits and different things that we can do to move forward to increase those type of revenues. But again, I just want to stress, it's easy to scrutinize when this was already done. We can continue to operate this way, and I can't look at Sarah, understand the way I understand finance, and know that our bond rating is in jeopardy if we do not change course for our long-term future. Can we get by this year? Maybe. But we've looked at our fund balance moved from upwards of $50 million to 33. Now let's back out the 33 million, 10 million that we have to reserve for emergencies. It's now 23. We will spend ourselves out of a future. We cannot do that. That's not good as it relates to the respect of our people who voted for us all to make certain that we'll be fiscal stewards of their tax money, that we'll make certain that impact of services will not happen. You look at option B, impact services will be drastic. So we will consider all of the thoughts and the processes that people brought, but understand, if we take out the $500,000 from Rock Region Metro, other outside agencies will have to fill that gap. Or if the board decides not to vote on it, I would urge not. That would be a very bad decision and will send the wrong message to our bondholders. We have to get our financial house in order, and we have to do it together. If there are any questions or concerns or comments as we continue to spend additional countless hours, because that's what our job is to do, is to propose for the board to consider. Please let us know. Again, now that everyone's aware, we want to make certain that as we have these potential cuts, that our employees were aware before it was shown on the news. We made that decision to make certain that those potential employees would know that, because the board asked 2 weeks ago that you wanted to see positions. And since you asked that, we responded and we had to act accordingly. Director Stacy Witherell, who's here today, our Chief People Officer, she has a plan in action if and when these cuts go in action, because we want to make certain that we give our people enough time for this to figure out a path forward. And so, again, I ask that we all, for those of faith, that we be in prayer. I mean, these are real families here, and we have to make certain that we continue to keep our financial house in order.